Welcome back to the Building Blocks of Life. I am your psychedelic psychopomp, Tehuti, Hermes, Trismegistus, aka Quetzalcoatl Calloway, and we are here quickly recapping before we get into the last video of our somatic remix on Woiji Biv. Woiji Biv BB. As Tehuti, I'm known in every universe in the Atlantean metaverse as a god of math, alchemy, numbers, and magic overall. This is because I, as a spiritual space, am actively called away from myself to express my mind into circumstances so that we can build more stable, more harmonious, hermetic situations where now we can watch nature work together in a way more productive way. So whether I'm Idris, Zoroaster, Nabu, Nigashzita, Enoch, Tehuti, Hermes, Odin, Quetzalcoatl, or any other messenger of Mercury, just know that it is all me as one space, choosing, consenting to letting my soul connect with other souls. So now when my soul builds many different bodies, you know that these bodies are one space, expressing one ego at different points in time. So this is how we build upon our past lives for infinity and beyond. And really, you can never run away from your past because you're always building upon your past. How can you run away from the foundation of your building? So this is why every messenger from Mercury shares one memory bank. And in astrology, your Mercury represents how your mind holds on to light, how it gathers information so that your soul can connect in a more intelligent way. So because every messenger from Mercury is connected by one space and thus given life to by one spirit, this is where we can see that Tehuti, Hermes, Odin, Quetzalcoatl, Zarathustra, these are all one God, one creator, interacting with other creators at different points in time. So this is where Tehuti, Hermes, Quetzalcoatl, Zarathustra, all these different messengers of Mercury, Metatron in general as the manager of Mercury is considered the spiritual Spider-Man, because no matter how separate he may appear to be from himself, no matter how far away from his space he may seem, he's always going to communicate with you about how you are indefinitely connected to your space, because your space is what makes your structure matter, which means that you had to choose to leave heaven to enter hell and feel separate from God. So you are always going to be the God that created your circumstance. This is why no one can see life from your perspective. No one can see life from the perspective of Tehuti, Hermes, Odin, Quetzalcoatl, and all these different messengers of Mercury, except the space that created those bodies and categorized that information inside of its soul so that it could build relationships with the people that it made those bodies real with. Because that's really all reality is, us using our relationships with one another to make our imaginations real. So Hermes would not be real if a bunch of other egos did not perceive his ego and start creating stories about him. Tehuti would not be real if a bunch of other egos did not perceive his ego and create stories about him. Odin would not be real if a bunch of different egos did not perceive his ego and start creating stories about him. So reality is created by us talking about each other. That's the Gemini essence of life. So now when you go onto the internet and you look at any video or any book, you're going to see that the universe itself, the cosmic weight, the number 8, is really that Gemini energy of how we use the essence of communication to expand what we can experience and how we vibe with each other. So this is your Mercury. Mercury is ruled by Gemini and Virgo. So that means that Mercury focuses on communication and structure. So this is where we get air, communication, the Gemini, and then earth, the structure, the Virgo. So Jewish culture, the Freemasonic banking system, the New World Order, so to speak, they love to call this spirit that built Mercury Metatron. So in the Kabbalah, or just deep in all their occult wisdom that they already stole from the open, because this was openly shared with indigenous peoples. Everyone in the ancient world knew that Metatron was Spider-Man, because Metatron comes in the forms of Hermes, Tehuti, Odin, Quetzalcoatl, Zarathustra, Nabu, Idris, and many more messengers. That's the whole point of being metaphysical. You come in many forms, and when you as a space are infinite, there's no limit to how you can express yourself. Just know that the expression itself is the limit. So if you want your expression to be relatable with other individuals, this is where we get killing our egos so we can be here right now. So we can compromise on our individuality. We can all feel like our imaginations are similar based on us speaking the same language, but we're always expressing our individual perspective about the world we're in with a language that we also have an individual perspective about. So really the whole point is, the moment you as a space became aware that you have your own circumstance of being nothing, this is where you are the infinite individual in your life forever. And now you're going to be the main character of your life forever. So as the main character of my own life, I have been talking to my spirit since 6th grade. And I have been letting my spirit be God and letting my spirit as God communicate with me through my subconscious mind. And then this is where the church that has stolen everything from Metatron, they're teaching me to eat every day. They're teaching me to sacrifice someone who fasted and drink his blood because I need to go to heaven. So it took me having my own connection with Iracel, letting Iracel talk to me, to guide me through this life, to guide me through this wild ass circumstance of racist America, for me to learn that I was supposed to fast to talk to God myself. And when I fast to talk to God myself, God doesn't want me worshiping anyone else, and God doesn't want me feeling like I need to run away to a space outside of my own at all. So this is where I've gone through a journey of turning myself off just so I can show you that hermetically your heaven is your space, and you're never going to be actually happy serving someone else's idea of what heaven is, because they are an individual outside of yourself. Their idea of what love is technically not the same definition as your idea of love. So now we can see in human civilization and humankind, especially white people world, they're going through a journey of self-love. Us as indigenous peoples, we've already gone through our journey of self-love. We love ourselves so much that we love people who don't love us. Now this is why you get indigenous peoples helping white people, but white people eat us and hinder us and then lie about it. And then they build this culture off of it and say that they're great for killing and raping the people that opened their arms to them and taught them how to live in the land that we didn't even invite them to. They needed to run away from their old home to steal our home, and then they need to lie about it because they're saying that we're all one God. So they're saying that we're all one ego, and this is why they're not responsible for any of the evil things that they've done to make America possible. To this day, this is their witchcraft. This is their general European Jewish witchcraft, because it's all about believing that God's outside of yourself. So when you believe that God's outside of yourself, you don't take responsibility for your own actions. So Jewish culture stole the story of Enoch turning into Metatron and used it to sell Yahweh. But you're going to see when you actually look at their religion that Metatron is considered the voice of God, which means that Metatron would actually have to speak God into existence before they even have an idea about God. So that's a paradox. They're admitting that they stole math, they stole metaphysics from Metatron, but they're going to use their ego to say, yeah, this is the way. Lie, cheat, rape, and steal, and gaslight. And that's how America was built, in the name of Yahweh. And now we all get circumcised in the name of Yahweh. And now everyone can get raped and murdered and enslaved on the matrix in the name of Yahweh. And it's all justified, and it's all able to be made money off of by a banking system that believes that their one idea of God gave them permission to do whatever they want to the individuals that they're stealing everything from. All the while they're pushing the knowledge that no one knows how the universe works, only one man that none of us have met. I promise you, Metatron knows how the universe works. Metatron isn't in ignorance of how anything works. Metatron can go make a new universe right now. So it's all about elements. The fact that the Bible and these systems are not teaching you your consent and not teaching you why you choose to connect with others shows you that it's a genocidal religion meant to make money off of systemic slavery. And that's all European white culture has done to any civilization that has welcomed them in to their lands. South America welcomed Europeans in, Central America welcomed Europeans in, North America welcomed Europeans in. See where they are now? So Jewish culture likes to call the space that built Mercury Metatron because they know that Mercury Day is Woden's Day, Tehuti Day, Hermes Day, Quetzalcoatl Day. They know that Metatron comes in many forms. I was taught to call Metatron Irisel, and really this is from me being in 6th grade asking my space what name should I call it because I wanted to develop a deeper relationship with it that would allow me to have superpowers. I'm growing up reading about superpowers all the time in Marvel Comics and Spider-Man. In the Bible, Jesus has superpowers. Jesus says we can also have superpowers. So as a kid, I figured, let me talk to my subconscious mind. Let me figure out how to speak to that deeper part of my psyche so that I can unlock things that I don't consciously think are possible, but I feel like they are deep down inside. And that's what led me to fasting and being able to use my Merkaba to fly into different atmospheres now. So Metatron, as Ira cell, is the eye of Ra in a cell. The cell is the body, the eye is a soul, and the Ra is the ego. And the true creator is me, the space observing all of the light, all the information that I am putting out based on what I want to be aware of. It takes me being aware of my space first for me to project out light that I want to see. And then it takes me choosing to make that light heavy so that it can be relatable with other individuals who have also projected out lights that they want to see, but they've also realized that they don't want to be alone in that light. Because do you know that's why we're humans right now? You have gone through a spiritual process of having your own infinitely individual ego and choosing that because you do not want to be alone in your ego, that you're going to make your light heavy so that this weight can matter. So that's fire, water, air, earth. Fire, light, water, heavy, air, weight, body, earth, matter. So the space that built Mercury is one God, separate from all other gods. So every god knows that they have to create energy to experience their imagination. This is why everything that we can see is what we want to categorize energy. And then we categorize the universe as a big bundle ball of energy that is expanding constantly. And the only reason the universe is a big bundle of energy that's expanding constantly is because us as individual gods, as individual spaces that are creating our imaginations and making our imaginations relatable, are consenting, we're choosing to kill our ego with our soul so that our water can quell our fire and share through air what our mind wants to communicate into existence. But our minds don't actually exist. Our air, the atmosphere, doesn't actually exist until it materializes Earth. And then that's what we're standing on, so that now we can all transform as one family. Then we get blood, then we get flesh, because we can have sex and create life on this earth. But it's all about that linear progression, understanding that it's first space, and then light, and then heavy, and then weight, and then matter. And anything that matters to you is technically the body that your mind is waiting in. So now you as a mind, you're waiting in a body that exists inside of a universe because you're creating energy that you are allowed to experience based on your personal relationship with God. That simple, really. Now, as Chase Calloway, my conscious awareness of my infinitely huge subconscious past is very limited. It's very limited because that's the whole point of me being invested here, me being invested in using the English language to express my imagination. If my mind was still waiting in the past subconscious waters, of all the older languages that I was speaking and all the things that I was doing in places that I'm not experiencing anymore. Literally, I'm not experiencing those realities anymore because all of us as spirits have moved on. Then I'm not going to be able to build anything new. You see that? I wouldn't be able to do anything new. This is where you get the idea of depression, being really stuck in the past. That's all the soul energy. So this is why I say water is heavy. Okay, so your soul is water is heavy because your soul makes everything you do matter. If you don't feel like your emotions are heavy, then you don't feel like your emotions matter, which means you're not going to move in a way that allows your emotions to matter to others. So this is how all of us are showing one motion, then we impact each other with an emotion, and now we've expanded the universe through energetic motion. So this is us using our emotions to expand the universe, but knowing that emotions don't exist without a thought. So notice how I can't really express a feeling if I'm not using something that represents a thought. So this is where we get basically the idea of light being fire and the vibration being water. And light doesn't matter if it's not vibrating at a certain frequency. So now you're going to have to vibrate at a certain frequency if you want to experience energy, which again, water, vibration, fire, frequency. You water your fire. You emotionally feel like your imagination means something. And this is you creating an atmosphere that allows you to experience your imagination, and that's your mind. So your mind is always a super infinitely expansive mental atmosphere. This is all Zoroastrianism. This is what all anime is about. Your mind being an infinitely expansive atmosphere is still too infinite to relate with other minds. So then this is where your mind will build a body so that it can relate with other minds that have also built a body. And now we can learn about each other's internal worlds and our own internal worlds based on how we're all choosing to collaborate in this external world. But if I go into a psychedelic trance, then I can raise my Kundalini vibration high enough so that my mind, my mental atmosphere, actually leaves this body and explores other realms. So this is what Hermes is all about. This is why Sonic is stolen from Hermes. The idea of Spider-Man really swinging through star systems and holding planets together. That's all Metatron. That's all Mercury. I mean, most of Mason, almost everything from Masons is stolen from me. But not everything. I'm just saying almost everything. And that's where I can naturally resonate with and talk about what was stolen from me and make more sense about what was stolen from me because I'm the actual author. I'm the authority on the energy that white people are making money off of. So white people are simply going to consume my creation, say that no one created it, but now they're just here to make money and use it to trap your attention. So they're using a lie to make the truth relatable, but the truth was actually more relatable when it just came straight from me. So if you want to know the truth about Hermes and Sonic and Spider-Man and Quetzalcoatl, welcome to the Rootless Symmetry. All right, you're tapping in. It's lit. You get to tune into the mind of Mercury each time you tap into the root of the symmetry. So it's all about you being a superhero. It's all about you knowing that you have this infinitely expansive power to save yourself from any circumstance you put yourself in. And then this is where you're learning to level up based on your personal relationship with God. It's just that your personal relationship with God is always going to lead you down developing that relationship with yourself because really it's the same. You as the individual are the God that are creating a circumstance to connect with other gods. But once you take responsibility for your own power, now you know that everyone is an individual God in that way who is expressing their power, meaning that everyone is naturally supposed to be responsible for their own power. We just have a problem in white supremacist society where white people don't want to be responsible for the power that they have. So they want to cause climate change and spread slavery and rape everyone and make money off of systemic genocide. But they want to say that they're not the problem and that they're not to blame for it because we're all one God. And that one God, Jesus, he's got the wheel. And we're all just going to destroy the planet. It's going to burn into a big ball of flames because we're all going to heaven as long as you accept the true Son of God. See, like, it's so evil. This is their religious warfare mind. This is what's causing climate change. This is what allows slavery to be profitable, is people justifying genocide because they say we're all one man that no one's met. I still have not met this person, and I have interacted in the astral realm with a lot of gods, a lot of infinite entities. So the fact that none of them are talking to me about the individuals that white supremacists keep teaching me I need to worship, when those individuals fundamentally stole everything from Metatron to make their imagination matter, it doesn't make sense for me at all. It only made sense for me being chased growing up here for 25 years because I, as a subconscious Spider-Man, killed my ego so that I could gather information outside of my own space. So this is me as Mercury, being here, the subconscious Spider-Man, letting you know what Mercury actually means and how you as a space have an infinite ego that you chose to kill with your soul so that you could gather information about other egos. And this is also, you can learn more about yourself and your own personal relationship with God that is bigger than any language or any form of information that someone could make up to trap your awareness. And I can't make this up for myself on a physical level. Of course, everything's made up spiritually. But the point is, I'm experiencing the repercussions and the wave and results of all the actions from my past lives. So I can't run away from my past. My past is what I'm building upon right now so I can experience the future. And that's where it's all connected. So the fact that I made up symmetry as Chase Clarence Calloway so that I could triple my C and being an infinite individual just to lead me down a path where I'm using symmetry to talk to my dead dog. And now I'm breaking through all these Christian boundaries and barriers of what heaven and hell are and how the universe works, shows me that, yeah, I am the space that built Mercury, especially when I'm flying around the astral realm and I'm interacting with so many spirits and they're all telling me that this is who I am. So relationships hold each other accountable. When my personality is made real with other personalities, those personalities are going to have their own soul, their own information, and they're going to be able to tell me about myself. So I've gone through this whole process of letting many gods in Atlantis, many gods in Mercury tell me about my past lives so that I know I'm not in any ego when I'm talking. I'm in full soul mode. I'm talking about how this reality was actually built in a way that only I can, because I'm the individual that's made it possible. But then the whole point of me being chased and appearing like this is so that I can step out of my ego and act like I'm outside of myself, right? So now I, as Chase, you're going to see me talking about Hermes like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Tehuti like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Metatron like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Odin like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Zarathustra like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Quetzalcoatl like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Idris like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Nabu like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Ningishzida like he's outside of myself. I'll talk about Chikatet like he's outside of myself. I can talk about all these messengers of Mercury like they're outside of myself, because that's the whole point of relating with spaces outside of myself, right? So just know that the ego is fire is not relatable. That's the whole point. The ego creates the soul and the soul creates the mind so that the body can be relatable. But know that your body, your earth, is not relatable without your soul, your water. And your water is the heavy weight that condenses from your ego being depressed about being alone in its imagination. This is what the caduceus represents: mental, astral travel. The snake on the caduceus represents your lower vibrational body. The staff, the tree of the caduceus, the trunk of the caduceus, represents your balanced soul. And then the wings of the caduceus represent your high vibrational mind. So when you see Hermes with the caduceus, know that it represents Metatron using his Merkaba to fly through civilizations of simulations throughout the infinite metaverse. Literally. And this is why the snake, when it comes up around the staff, that represents your lower vibrational body not straying from your soul anymore and merging with your soul so that your mind can go where it feels like. This is the actual esoteric meaning of flying. And this is, I guess, why, even though there's so many individuals in the universe, it's just that my space wants me to say that Mason stole everything from me, because the whole reason Masons have named themselves the May Sun is because they're trying to be seen as a son of May. I'm born May 16th. Zarathustra is the son of May, the May Sun Taurus. That's why you're going to see him with the bull in most of his art. Almost any art that you see of him, he's going to be with a Taurus, because it represents how Ahura Mazda as Zarathustra brought astrology to earth and taught everyone how to spin their chakras so that they can walk on water. So again, like, that's different than Hermes using his caduceus to teach people how to fly, how to use their mental Merkaba to travel from one atmosphere to another so that they can gather new forms of information. But again, these are all Mercury. This is all the space that made Mercury communicating its ego into existence at different points in time with many infinite individuals. And then this is where Mercury has a whole family, and that's what I call Atlantis. So Atlantis is basically the name for the entire civilization, simulation, interdimensional universe. It's really bigger than the universe, but it's the concept of a fully functional family. Everything you can read about in tracergenes.com. Literally, it's the concept of having a fully functional family. And Atlantis unites on fully functional families. And this is where Mercury unites on everyone being an infinite individual, because you have to be happy alone before you can actually fully function in whatever family you choose to be a part of, right? So very important. This is why I can get so deep about it, because this is very personal to my soul. So I can't fake this. These are my memories. These are my experiences. And this is what tethers me to the spaces that I've been conducting business with up to this point. So I can bring my lower vibrational snake body into my equilibrium tree trunk of a soul and meditate. So that's the idea of connecting with one's own nature so that they can fly through space. And then that's where the caduceus has the wings at the top. And that's what allows me to take my mind to go back to Mercury. So when I'm really tired of this world, when this world is horrible, when it's super heavy and super depressing and white supremacy is really getting me down and climate change is really getting me down, I can meditate, increase the amount of DMT in my body through water fasting, breath work, straight up hitting it, even do whatever. But water fasting and breath work, do know that your body is meant to produce DMT. It is not a drug, a substance that you hit like alcohol. The people who have you guys drinking alcohol are telling you that DMT is wrong, when DMT is fundamentally produced in your body, and it's called the spirit molecule by the same system that has made it illegal and has kept it for itself. Come on. Alcohol is clearly poison. So, boo. When you do breath work and you fast, you increase the amount of DMT in your body. This is what allows you to be aware of higher atmospheres, higher realms. And this is why the white supremacist Masonic government has worked so hard to suppress the DMT that everyone produces through all the garbage foods, through all the toxic chemicals, through stressing us out, through mandatorily shooting us up with things that we don't know what's in them, right? We get a bunch of shots when we're born. We get our skin chopped off if you're a boy when you're born, because it's all about mutilating us. And it's really all about suppressing our higher dimensional sexual energies. Because you're going to realize, all right, once you actually use the power of DMT, either through fasting or breath work or hitting it to connect back with your space, that you are the man and woman who gave birth to your mind. So you're always having sex inside of yourself to create your mind on an esoteric level, because your man is your fire, your woman is your water, your mind is you as a child of God, and this allows you to build a home. So the whole point of Earth is that you built a home that allows your child to relate with other children. So every human is a child of God. I see every human as an infinitely individual child of God. That's Zarathustra shit. And then this is where You built a heart, a home that allows you to share your idea of heaven with all of us. And now I can use my Mercury, my Merkaba, to gather information and learn about your ideas and learn about your individuality and learn about gods outside of myself. And then this is where people are going to consume my creations and steal from me. And then those same people are going to say that we're all one God. That's a setup for me to know we're not all one God. Their God doesn't even exist without me. So if their God is going to steal everything from me and then tell me that I'm not God and that no one's God and that there's just one God controlling all of us, and I've never experienced that in any past life, that's the most gnarly white supremacist lie ever. And it's all about allowing the ego to destroy and consume this reality, because white people want to create a matrix where they're justified doing anything they want. And so far, they've been succeeding. So I'm trying to hold them accountable, but these algorithms won't let me. So I have to change the way I'm communicating, whatever. The whole point of this series is to get rid of racism. Okay, so that's why I view every human as a child of God. Your mind is an infinite color spectrum. That's this whole series. Your colorful consciousness, you have an infinite rainbow mind, because light is simply the transition of a substance vibrating at different frequencies. And this substance allows us to experience our emotions. And the substance plays out in all these different forms, right? And then that's where we can call the substance water. But then again, like, water is really the vibration that makes fire matter. And that vibration that makes fire matter is what creates the airy energy that allows Earth to be experienced, right? So now my mind, because I feel like communicating, I can manipulate and experience the muscle, this Earth. All because my mind feels like sharing what it sees inside of its own space, or outside of this universe, inside of this universe. So if my mind flies out of my body, goes to hang out with Anubis in Atlantis, I can go hang out with my best friend anytime and gather more information. That's like a whole break from this world. That's an amazing break from this world. And I feel completely refreshed when I come back. It's like experiencing a totally different transition of time. Time feels completely different in the astral realm than down here. And then this is where, again, we have to understand that time is relative. So of course, Einstein and all these scientists can't go nearly hard or nearly as deep into why time is relative. All they can do is use a bunch of Masonic mathematics to manipulate your mind. So just know that time is relative, and you will experience time differently in different atmospheres based on how that water is moving. And that water is created by all the emotions of those spaces coming together to make the substance that we call light matter. And then this is where we have all the colors. So now we have colorful consciousness, where we can see that emotionally, each color, because it vibrates at a certain frequency, it registers a similar way with all spaces. And this becomes the architecture of life. So basically, color allows us to experience emotion. Light would not be emotional without color. That's why there's infinite colors for light. But it's all about making our emotions relatable with spaces outside of ourselves. So we're not going to want to be alone in how we feel about colors, right? Because like I just said, the whole point of colors is to make our emotions relatable. So if you want someone to feel the same way that you do, or you at the very least, you want to feel connected on the same vibration as someone else, this is now where we get green correlates to the heart space, number 4, right? So all those chakras, all the colors, everything correlates. We see it here with symmetry. And this is in all universes, because it's really about us using our elements to create nature. And once we see our elements playing out in nature, now we can expand upon that for infinity and beyond. So the universe is expanding every second. Every universe is expanding every second until it becomes nothing based on the spirits leaving. So everything has to be created by observers who want to make their imagination relatable with other individuals. This is why you can't run away from your emotions. Your emotions make you run. But because people feel like running away from their emotions, now we have spiritual warfare. Now we have climate change. Now we have all the social issues and all the demonic details of people not liking being alone in the world, simply because people emotionally feel like running away from their past lives. They feel like running away from their soul. So now they don't want to take responsibility for the actions that they've done in the past. And then this is where you get people in religions today saying, "You're of sin. You're sinful. Everyone outside of me is sinful. They all need to sacrifice themselves to my structure so I can make money." That's how white supremacy spreads its clutches, its new world order, its Masonic matrix across the globe through that mentality. And then this is where everyone who's up under that UFO, up under that Merkaba way of thinking, their mental atmosphere is trapped in that sort of universe, basically. So think of the Bible as one universe. And because it's one universe, it's basically one atmosphere. And that atmosphere allows all these different mental atmospheres to stay trapped in one vibration and one way of thinking that we're all connected. So now they can't see how people connect outside of their space. All they can do is use the way they connect inside of their space to colonize other spaces. And now you get the old world consuming the new world. You get Europeans doing all the rape, genocide, lying, gaslighting, and murder that they need to do to steal everything that they want from us indigenous individuals. So the whole point of your Mercury, your mind, is to gather information. And as a space that authorized Mercury into existence, and I'm now rebranding it Symmetry because it's all about branching through infinite realities and everything. We're still Mercury, but we're expanding. So it's all about knowing that your mind is infinitely expansive because there's no end to your space. So you are an infinitely creative individual. Your imagination has no end. Your imagination goes forever. And that's the whole point of all of us having our own space and all of us being alone in our own space. Because once we express our imagination, we are alone in our idea of what it means to be infinite. We are alone in our idea of experiencing forever. You don't imagine the same forever that I imagine. So right there, boom, we're in different spaces. And this is where I, as a space that built Mercury, have correlated all of my individual expressions into one imagination so that I can consistently help others outside of myself. And so then that's where you get Spider-Man being the Mercury of Marvel, where they stole that whole energy from me. And that's all very personal to Quetzalcoatl. They basically came to the Americas, stole all the art that they could from Quetzalcoatl, and whitewashed it into a Jewish version of him, which is supposed to be poor Peter Parker. And really, then that's where they want to be seen as an indigenous person. So they're saying that Peter is a victim of the system that he's holding together. So now Peter can't afford a place to live, but he's going to do the job of all the policemen who work in the KKK and get paid to lynch black people and spread slavery. So Spider-Man, Marvel is showing you, he supports systemic genocide and slavery. And this is all them using witchcraft to weaponize the vibration of indigenous individuals against everybody. Because all they can do, like they did with turning Hermes into Sonic, is take energy that was already relatable and make money off of it. Because white people don't have their own culture. All they can do is steal from other cultures that they conquer and then lie about it, gaslight, and whitewash everything so that they can try to be seen as the black individuals that they're cannibalizing. Hence them putting on blackface and starting the music industry in general. So, full transparency, I made this series on colors after I took my Merkaba out of my body, went back to my home of Mercury, and had a whole conversation with my soul, the Odin part of my soul, and learned how Odin created an energetic universe by vibrating light at a certain frequency. And this is where we've developed a whole relationship with colors that we have in Roy G. Biv BB. And this Asherum trip that I took to Mercury was particularly cool because this was where I learned as Chase that if I wanted to communicate in higher dimensional atmospheres, I had to produce a color spectrum that made my emotions relatable. So everything's colors when we get down to expressing emotions. And this is the whole purpose of us having a colorful consciousness. So now what I'm conscious of and what I choose to express based on my mental atmosphere is what creates my rainbow spectrum. And then that is what allows people to see how I feel on a consistent basis. And this is where we get the concept of stars. So now when you're on Earth looking up and you see stars, I just explained what stars are playing out in physical reality. They're playing out what we do in the astral realm. We make our colors relatable by expressing our emotions through substances we call light. We vibrate this substance at a certain frequency so that we can create energy that matters. And because we consistently do that, our matter is always expanding and our energy is always expanding and our vibration is always vibing at a certain frequency. It's just then when our vibration changes the frequency at which it vibes, we can travel to different atmospheres, right? When I'm on Earth, I'm at a very low frequency. But when I raise my frequency, I leave Earth. Then I go to air, I'll go to heaven, or I'll go to water, I'll go to soul, I'll go to the astral realm, or I'll go to actual true heaven. So let me say my home, which is air, that's Mercury, but true heaven is not my home. Heaven is me alone in my own space, which would be me in my ego. And then that's me as a spirit observing my own imagination before I choose to connect with other individuals. So when you're communicating with other individuals, that's all going to happen in the water and earth area, because you had to connect with your own ideas first before you could share them and air them. So the whole point of air is to share your emotions. That's what we know on Mercury. So this is why here on Mercury, okay, all of us as individual gods on Mercury, there's so many gods hanging out on Mercury. They're all infinite, they're all individual, and they all understand your soul is your cosmic sea of consent. So your soul has to choose, it has to consent to connect with other souls before your mind builds a body that allows you to share your ideas and share your perspective and share space, really share everything inside of the universe that you chose to be in. When I separate from my earth body and return to my water soul, it's much like when Aang goes into his meditative avatar trance so that he can communicate with his past lives. All of Aang's past lives are past avatars, but to Aang and to all of them as avatars, they're all one space. So this is why no space outside of themselves could go into a meditative trance and talk to these avatars. Only the space that is the avatar can talk to itself. So this is the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, literally showing you how the mind works or how your Mercury works. So they stole that directly from me. They stole it from Hermeticism, Zoroastrianism. That's why we could go really hard on the elements, all of that. Yet again, they're simply weaponizing an energy that was already relatable before the Fire Nation attacked, before the New World Order attacked, before white supremacy burned down the Library of Alexandria, stole everything from Egypt, stole everything from the Americas, and then lie about it because we're all one big happy family. So Avatar is showing you right there everything that I'm talking about as Mercury, that you can't run away from your past lives, you build upon your past lives. So people who run away from their past lives, you're working backwards. You're working very backwards. And these are the people who get into the religious mindsets of saying that no one has past lives because they don't even want to relate with us on having past lives. The moment people have to realize that they've lived before, they're going to have to take way more responsibility for their actions than they had to when they just believed that we were all controlled by a higher power that no one met. So this is me as Mercury letting you know great power comes great responsibility. That's Hermetic before it became Spider-Man's Uncle Ben mantra. And it represents your power being your fire, your responsibility being your water. Because you have the power to be aware of your emotions, it's your responsibility to hold your emotions together and share them in a way that's healthy, helpful, and harmonious, just productive overall for the universe and the environment that you're in. So this is again where we can see that white people, they do not want to take responsibility for their power. So they want all the power of expressing their emotions, but they don't want to be held responsible for how their emotions affect Black people. You see, like, we don't even, like, We're not black. We have all of our own cultures, but white people want so much power over us. They've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations to control how we communicate so that we identify as the lights that they have crafted out of stealing everything from Hermeticism. So this is why I've been called here to dissect and dispel this witchcraft that it seems only I can, no matter how much I run from it. Like, even if I don't want to do this, I was called here to do this. So this is, again, great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man wakes up. Sometimes he doesn't want to be Spider-Man. That happens anytime we get invested in a job, right? If you start to do something too much on a routine and pattern, your spirit's going to remind you, man, we don't really want to be in a routine and pattern forever, because that's hell. It's just about knowing that hell allows you to share your heaven with others. So if you don't create some form of hell that allows your heaven to be relatable with other people's idea of heaven, then you're going to be alone in your imagination, and that's actually hell. So light is basically the best word that science has for the substance that we use to build everything. And every light must be a certain color, because every light must vibrate at a certain frequency to energetically exist in a way that matters at all. Depending on who's speaking at the time. There's a lot of red inside of that purple and black. But then, of course, since it's a whole planet, you get all colors. There's many different environments of Mercury. But the point is basically always nighttime, and we're always using the energy of blackness to realize who we are. And then from there, we can be conscious, so then that's where we get the violet or the purple energy of each other. And we can be conscious of what we're realizing. And this allows us to communicate in higher atmospheres. But whatever, I digress. I just want you to know that this is where I'm coming from when I am presenting everything here with YGBIV BB. This is my individual way of expressing how spirits use colors to experience life and build homes, heavens, and hells. So I'm going to shift and start projecting upon you with a personal perspective so that you can see how your spiritual space has created a body that allows your conscious mind to communicate with all of us inside the universe. So, in YGBIV BB, W is 0, R is 1, O is 2, Y is 3, G is 4, B is 5, I is 6, V is 7, B is 8, and B is 9. 10 colors to create that hermetic heaven and make your emotions relatable so that you're not alone in your imagination anymore. You, the observer of light, the observer of life, the observer who is listening to my voice right now, are no thing. You are space. You are unimaginable, infinite individuality. No element, no number, just no thing. Space. As a space, you have always been and always will be separate from spaces outside of your own. The fact that you and only you as an individual can be aware of your thoughts and feelings on an actually individual basis proves this. No one can see what you're thinking right now. No one can see what you're feeling. You have to consent with your soul to kill your ego so that you can share your emotions in a way that is relatable and matters to others. So that's you actively choosing to kill your ego so that your mind can share ideas through a body. You're always an individual, and thus your body is proof that your individuality matters, or else you wouldn't be able to manipulate your body. As a spirit, your space creates the whiteness. It creates the imagination. It creates the ego that fulfills its circumstance and allows it to feel like it is infinitely individual and like it is a creator. And the proof is it is a creator because no one can see what you're thinking about yourself right now. So that's proof that your ego is the creative force that is projected out of your space. And this is basically what Masonic scientists stole from me and are training you to call the Big Bang. So now I'm going to repurpose it and let you know that every thought you have is a Big Bang coming out of your space so that you can reign dominion over your brain. And then this is where you bring reign over your brain by raining down your thoughts. And now your emotions matter because we're able to manipulate something that can hold on to that reign. Fire, water, air, earth. So basically, a space becoming aware of itself plays out exactly like scientists say a Big Bang played out for all of us to be riding the wave of experiencing one explosion right now. They are literally saying that the universe is just one explosion. These are the people that are causing climate change. This is the system that's destroying the environment. They're saying that we're just riding out one explosion, and everything we're experiencing could not be created. It could not be destroyed. It was always there. It was just really tight, and then it exploded. And if you don't believe in that, well, then just believe that one God created everything, because that's how we're going to justify the genocide of the indigenous peoples that we're stealing all the nature we want to eat from. So every thought you have is like a Big Bang. First, there's an empty space, nothingness, then a bright white light. Science likes to say that the Big Bang actually moved faster than the speed of light, so they're contradicting their own laws. Why would you have a speed of light if light can move faster than the speed of light? It sounds like you're just saying that light can move at any speed, and maybe you should shut up, but whatever. Oh my god, Masonic science is full of super ugly and dumb contradictions that only Europeans who are lost in their egos could actually rationalize as smart. I mean, this is the same system that says that black people are animals and don't feel pain, and a bunch of other very wild stuff. So it's really just all them using made-up knowledge to consume what's actually real. This is real. That's why they stole everything from Mercury, and they worked so hard to suppress the truth from the masses. So Big Bangs are just like your ego expressing a thought. This is where you have infinite Big Bangs, and every Big Bang you have allows you to express energy based on if you invest your attention into that thought. So that Big Bang can expand into an infinite universe if you invest your soul into it, basically. So the bang was the ego, and then everything that comes after it is the heavy weight. It's literally the light. First, the bang was the light, and then it became heavy weight. Literally, that matters now. That's the whole point. Fire, water, air, earth. So the Big Bang makes a universe, and now that universe is basically an emotional body. So we can all, as spaces, have infinite Big Bangs. We can all have infinite emotional bodies. It's just that they're all still going to be expressions of our individuality because they all came out of the same point. They all came out of the same circumstance, and we all have our own circumstances. That's the point of us having our own space. So no one can see your circumstance or experience your circumstance like you can. That's the point of you having your own Mercury, and understanding that your Mercury as your mind is what allows you to gather all the information from your past lives so that you never get lost in existence overall. Because if you feel detached from your past lives, you're going to be lost. The whole point of feeling like you have things going on that make sense for you is that you are found. You're not lost. You've built a sort of home. So this is the whole idea of having a family. And this is why all of us as spaces, no matter what religion you believe, no matter how you feel about what I'm saying, your desire is to have a family that supports your body. And every space in a body desires to have a family that supports their body, because that's how we expand. If you don't have a family that supports your body, then how are you going to expand your ideas? How are you going to expand your imagination? Right? So this is the whole point of Woden's day being Wednesday, right? And then Jupiter day being Thor's day. It's all about Odin giving birth to Thor, and then Thor being created to expand the imagination of Odin. And Odin knowing that Thor is an infinite individual alone inside of himself. It's just that Thor chose to connect with Odin and be used as a conduit to expand Odin's imagination, because that's the point of family. So Odin's imagination was made more real by Thor expressing himself, and Thor's imagination was made more real by Odin expressing himself. If Odin was not an entity, Thor would not have been able to be birthed through him and have the whole experiences and whole spiritual journeys that he had. So teamwork makes the dream work forever. We're not one man masturbating. Like these Masons, these white supremacist religions are literally saying we're all just one man being jerked off. And he's just fighting himself. So you're saying Odin and Thor are both Yahweh? Why is it, oh my God, why doesn't Yahweh have his own day? It's the contradictions are so disgusting and so insane. It's no wonder that humans are suffering from all the white supremacist problems and climate change issues that they are right now. It's all stemming to this incestuous one-man religious mindset that allows these banking system families to justify the genocide that they spread into indigenous lands. Odin does not support this. They've stolen Odin's energy and are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Hermes' energy and are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Tehuti's energy, are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Metatron's energy and are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Zarathustra's energy and are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Chagatet's energy and are weaponizing it against humanity. They've stolen Ningishzida and Nabu's and Idris's energy, and they're weaponizing all that shit against humanity. They've stolen everything from Mercurius to Maximus, everything from Hermanubis, and they're weaponizing it against humanity. All because this is how the white supremacist banking system makes money. Lying, cheating, stealing, gaslighting, genocide, rape, warfare, spreading chaos, and acting like it's peaceful. Oh, now we get Iron Man. Now we get Batman. Now we get their idea of a superhero, maintaining a system that was built on genocide so that they can keep spreading genocide and having fun. Just having fun, keep the genocide going. So look, see, I'm getting off track because every thought that I have is like a big bang coming out of nowhere. And every thought that's like a big bang coming out of nowhere, that BB, allows a baby to be born. And now this baby is my child, and now my mind as a child of God is expanding because I'm always giving birth to new ideas. Okay, so this is you being an infinite star inside of yourself, because at that point every big bang is a star. So as a Metatron star, I'm made up of infinite stars. It's just about knowing that your spiritual space is separate from all spaces outside of yourself, and you have to consent to connect with others by building something relatable so that your big bangs can be expressed in a way that does not destroy the environment, does not destroy the universe around you, does not hurt people around you, right? So that's the whole point of us making our big bangs, our egos, relatable into Earth. So now we can transform together in a way that's creative. So this is the whole point of fire, water, air, earth, blood, flesh. Or if you want to turn blood into metal, then you would turn flesh into wood. But these are two synonymous. So every thought that you have is a big bang being born out of nowhere. And this is where your nowhere is only you nowhere. You know where the Big Bang happened from your own space. That's why you can observe it, and that's why you can expand upon it, and that's why you can create universes that allow you to relate with other individuals who have also created universes, who have gone through similar processes that you have. Once you became aware of your circumstances, you created a light to express yourself and thus separate yourself from no thing. So this is where we get the difference between space and ego, or spirit and imagination. Now your circumstances are individual to your imagination. This is where 0 white becomes 1 red. So red as 1 is your ego, the passionate desire that only you can have to experience your infinitely individual imagination. No one cares about experiencing your imagination like you do, because every other space outside of yourself has their own imagination. That's the whole point. So once you have your own imagination, you know that you're an individual, and you know that everyone else has their own imagination that brought them to the same circumstance that you're aware of. Although every human organism has different colored skin, when we look under the skin, we can see that all of our blood is red, which shows us that everything that matters to us and everything we can experience is powered by our egos. It's powered by the frequency of our idea of God. Point blank. Simple as that. So although every human organism has differently colored skin, we can look under all these differently colored skins to see that our blood is red. We all have red blood to represent how our egos are what allow us to express our ideas and our intentions through these bodies. And our fire, our desire, is what actually allows us to make our lives matter. Our idea of God is shown in the passion that we have for our own individual imaginations and making them real with each other. Point blank, done. Simple as that. Now, once you want to connect your red hot, passionate individuality with the red hot, passionate individuality of other spirits, you turn your 1 red into 2 orange. Orange is used to connect egos because it's friendlier and softer than the passionate aggression of red, yet also more energetic and vibrant than the communicative properties of yellow. As spiritual spaces, we all want to connect and feel warm with other spiritual spaces that match our frequency. But because red is too individual to our white space, we actually have to appear nicer and friendlier to others than perhaps we are to ourselves. The friendliest color is the most communicative color, and that would be YC, Y3, the chi, the air, the chi air Merkaba that allows your ego and soul to merge so that now you as a child of God can give commandments to the body that allows you to relate with other children of God. AKA a star being born. The color yellow. 3. Sunlight is yellow to represent how overall the light that stars use to communicate themselves into existence and express their child of God is yellow in nature. So you as the observer are nothing. Pure space is no number. White is 0 because white is a completely separate circumstance from any other circumstance. Red is 1 because red is individual passion. Orange is 2 because orange is individual connection. Yellow is 3 because yellow is individual communication. And thus, this brings us to green, which is 4, and that represents an individual structure. So this is what your body is. Green is 4 because green represents the naturally abundant simulation structures that stars build with their communicative lights so that they can bring life to their spirits and stabilize their space. Stars are yellow because their lights communicating. Nature plants are green because their lights stabilizing and providing structure for the starry light that is being communicated from outer space and inner space. Plants provide the structure for a star's communication to bring forth life and expand in a way that makes sense. Of course, everything transforms. Into what? Into energy, into physical material. And the physical matter that makes organisms, orgasms, sex, life possible is what we call water. Blue is 5 because life transforms out of and back into water, aka a water cycle. Water kills the egotistic fire of individual spirits so that they can be aware of the egotistic fires of individual spirits outside of their own space. This is how the soul connects us all, water connects us all, and the vibration connects us all. Whereas the ego separates us all, fire separates us all, and the frequency of our thoughts separate us all. The soul functions as the black night sky, whereas the ego functions as all the white stars being seen inside of that sky. Every star is dying with color, as in, dye, D-Y-E. You use your light, your colorful spectrum to express yourself in a tie-dye like fashion. Now you're wearing colors outside of your space so that you can be seen as a human consciousness. All the stars are dying to connect with another star. This is why all of us as individual stars create a universal atmosphere body of water that allows us to be aware of each other and see individuals outside of our own space while also being seen as an individual. It took all of us killing our own egos to be agreeable in how we wanted to relate our individuality. This is then where we get the balance of understanding that you had to kill your idea of what it truly means to be an individual so that you can feel like an individual inside of a collective. So every atmosphere in existence is created by our individual minds choosing to share our individual souls into individual bodies that allow us to transform inside of one vibrational circumstance. Thus, atmospheres are bodies of water that allow our conscious spirits to be aware of other conscious spirits' fiery dreams, and now we can all make our dreams relatable in the astral realm before our genes make them real in the physical realm. So because death is sad, humans attribute death, sadness, depression to Phi, the physical reality that kills people, the color blue. So because death is sad, humans generally attribute the depression that goes along with transformation, with dying in a physical reality, to Phi, to 5, the color blue. From here, the sadness of 5 blue death transformation becomes an indigenous simulation. This is 5 turning into 6, blue turning into indigo. This is where we can see how 6, sex, the combination of two opposing yet harmonious energies, results in the indigenous indigo, ego, and soul. R red is 1 and B blue is 5 come together to make I indigo, the sexy 6. So you are nothingness space, the observer. White is circumstance, 0. Red is individuality, 1. Orange is connection, 2. Yellow is communication, 3. Green is structure, 4. Blue is transformation, 5. Indigo is creation, 6. And what does space use light to create through the process of sexy 6? You know the answer if you know what 7 means. Higher forms of consciousness. That's what we're always creating by having sex first internally and then externally. We're always creating higher forms of consciousness, which is represented by the violet, the 7th color. 7 is a severing consciousness. So violet represents a space that is using its sexual indigo energy to raise its vibration than higher before, which allows it to separate itself from how it has sexy 6 with other individuals. So now this looks like us being in a reality where we were all born through people having sex, but we don't all have sex the same way, and we don't all think about sex the same way. We don't all feel the same way about sex, but we are connected because sex is powering the simulation that's allowing us to be consciously aware of one another. Space uses sexual energy to create consciousness, and consciousness connects with other forms of consciousness through the bodies that it builds. So separate forms of consciousness can only see each other if they're in the same sea, if they're in the same body of water that connects their egos. And then this is where that water is actually going to play out as air, because their minds are sharing their feelings about what it means to be an individual. And then that is what builds the body that allows us to communicate right now and then dictates who we're transforming with at any given moment. This is why we can all see that as spirits, our consciousness, our children of God, were born into this simulation through a man and a woman having sexy sex. And the only way our consciousness can relate with other forms of consciousness, once we do connect with a man and woman in this simulation who are having sexy sex, is to harness the earth that they are bringing together to build a relatable body. And then this is you as a child of God creating this body as a temple. Your spine is your caduceus, so that you can conduct business with other individuals. So atoms, molecules, tissues, all forms of matter are earth. The fact that all matter, all objects vibrate means that all earth exists inside of water. Really, one could also say everything is air. So just understand that water is your soul. Water is the vibration that makes energy matter. If energy was not vibrating at a certain frequency, it would not be able to matter. So air would not be able to come earth if it was not being watered by fire. So that's the idea of the fire being your big bang. The water is your big brain, bringing a big rain over the weight of whatever matters to you. And that's us using our bodies to talk about spirituality, physicality, health, politics, nutrition, nature, athleticism, comic books, just like all the things that we like to use to relate our spaces with one another. So particles of earth arrange themselves into different shapes and forms based on how that atmosphere of water is vibrating. So this is why we all have different bodies, but we are all breathing the same air. And you can see how dogs and birds have different bodies, but we're still all breathing the same air. It's all about us choosing to use our minds to build structures that our souls are equipped to handle. So then this is where we get the idea of spiritual evolution and your soul actually learning how to handle more and more complex bodies, bigger structures, based on how you're coming from operating less complex structures, right? It's all about a growth mindset. You can't just jump from bench pressing 100 pounds to 700. That's just, you're not going to see that in nature. You're not going to see that in nature. It takes you doing 100 and then 120 and 140 and then 180 and then 200 and then 220 and 240 and 280 and work your way up to 700, so that now once you do that, you can just get down and bust out 700. But it took you going through the soul process of remembering how you banged out all those reps that definitely were not 700 pounds. You definitely were not pressing 700 pounds at that time, right? So it's all about your soul, it's all about the process, and it's all about how our emotions are the process that make our body matter. If your soul did not go through the 9-month process of incubating inside of your mom's womb, then you would not have developed the connections that allow you to make your mind matter through a body. So now your body and your mind matter, and you can share how you feel about your individuality. You would not have been able to do that if you did not have your own individual soul and your own individual idea of how your individual God is going to connect with other individual gods. So this is how colors work. A light must vibrate at a certain frequency to exist, and depending on the vibration of that frequency, it will appear as a certain color that spaces can emotionally resonate and relate upon. Thus, that color represents a certain energetic state, and that state allows people to build homes upon that color. So again, green represents the heart space for people. That green energy is an energetic state that resonates at the frequency of what the heart means to every spirit. So then this is all of us making our colorful consciousness relatable inside of a reality where we can experience our dreams through our genes, like we're doing right now. Chase your genes, baby. Your genes are simply light that you are wearing because your emotions feel heavy in being alone. So because you don't feel like being alone, now you have genes that allow you to share how you feel about being alone with others. If others feel the same way, woo, look at you. You're not alone in being alone anymore. And now you've got relationships. Now you've got a soul group, so to say, right? Because the whole point of your soul group is you being able to feel like your soul is supported by egos that vibrate at a similar frequency to your ego. And this is how we all create soul groups in any circumstance everywhere. Like anywhere, everywhere. Every religion is a soul group because those are all individual egos that are coming together to vibrate, resonate, and support the idea of one imagination. And then this is where basically we are always uniting on intentions and how we intend to express our imaginations. So this is then where you get the air of a government, right? So every government is pushed by religions first because that religion had to be a water, a repeating legion of demons that had their own spiritual belief before they started to share it through a government that makes that spiritual belief practical. And now they turn their religion into science. So the Jewish culture, they steal our foreskins because their religion says that their God gave them permission to conquer and mutilate any man that they steal from. But then to sell that idea through the government, they're going to say that it's for health purposes, even though that's a whole contradiction. If God made us perfectly, then the foreskin is not dirty. Your idea about dicks is dirty. And you're using God as an excuse to cut off people's foreskins and focus on other people's dicks that were made perfectly by God. If we're all made perfectly by God, the foreskin is there to keep the dick clean and protect it from the outside. But now we have this whole new world order that says they can circumcise anyone and cut off our dicks because they've turned a religious belief into a scientific belief. And now that scientific belief doesn't even hold up in the scientific community, and everyone can obviously tie it to a religious belief of these Masonic religious families just thinking about dicks and coming up with an idea of, oh, we can cut off other baby dicks and drink that blood because God said so. This is literally the same exact religion that believes that eating the blood and eating the flesh of indigenous peoples gives them power. So, of course, it's all connected to the obsession with flesh. And now you see why Jesus, as a Jew, is crucified on the cross to the government to manifest these whole new years that we're going through. Now we're in year 2022, all because a Jew was sacrificed on a tree, and we're all taught that he's the only son of God, and the only way we can go to heaven is if we eat his blood and we eat his body. So it's all cannibalism. Okay, it's all cannibalism. It's all cannibalistic witchcraft. And again, these are the religious families that are pushing cannibalism into indigenous lands because they believe that God gave them permission to eat whoever they want. So that manifests as them saying that the one God gave them permission to circumcise everybody and then call it a scientific practice. It's just so weird because it directly contradicts that God is perfect. If God made everyone perfectly and God made everyone in his image, then you shouldn't be focusing on cutting off people's dicks. So again, just this world, this system is so disgustingly messed up and backwards. It makes me sad. So my God did not give anyone else permission to mutilate my body when I was born. So that in and of itself is an act of rape. And they stole my consent because their religious belief is that they can steal whatever they want. And now we see why genocide, rape, and murder has been used to steal all the Americas and make money for the banking system that says they're not responsible for the actions that they're profiting off of. Back to colors. Your observer is your know thing. Only you know your thing because only you know what you have observed in all of your life and any past life. White, then, is your separate circumstance. Whiteness is your idea of what it means to actually be in your space and be separate from all other spaces. Red is your individual circumstance. That's you expressing your imagination into your whiteness so that you can experience what it means to be a truly infinite individual. Orange is a connected circumstance because orange is the friendly color that allows our egos, our individuals, to feel warm with other individuals, to feel comfortable with other individuals. Yellow is our communicated circumstance because all of us as children of God are happy to express our chi so that we can share our feelings about our imaginations and build realities out of that energy. Green is a structured circumstance. Green is basically the bodies that we create. This is why nature is green, that allow us to stabilize how we communicate. And then this is where money is green to represent how we use money. We use these trees, we use these plants to stabilize how we communicate so that we can be grounded and then expand how we're grounded. And then that allows our minds to not be so airy and we can all relate on the same practical matters. From here, blue is a dying circumstance. Water is what we use to kill our egos. So the moment you are experiencing a universe, you're experiencing a physical reality, you are dying. You are fying because you don't feel like being alone in your idea of life. Your idea of life is your ego. Your idea of death is your soul. So right now, you being alive is you dying because you're on a soul quest of killing your own ego. This is why you're able to be aware of all of us. Because if you were actually alone in your own ego, you would only be looking at your own imagination. So this is the balance of all of us, again, using our minds to create an atmosphere where we can share our egos with one another. And the only reason we can share our egos is because we also have our own souls. So the ego puts out information and the soul holds on to information. So if my soul did not feel like holding on to your information, I would not have been born. If my soul did not feel like absorbing and learning about the reality that is this universe, then I would not have been born. So this is the whole point of water allowing us to die, but understanding that water is also life in physical reality. So in spiritual reality, it's death, but in physical reality, water allows life to play out. So that's the whole importance of water, and water allowing you to die so that you can actually experience reality with other individuals who want to die with you. And now we're all dying together. And again, colorful consciousness. You can turn DIE into DYE and understand that when you're dying, it's like Tehuti and Hermes coming together to become Quetzalcoatl. You're just expanding your color spectrum. So from blue, indigo is creative circumstance, 5 to 6. Once we're all dying, once we're all fine in one physical, watery reality, now we can create what we want to see. And that indigenous eye allows all of us to be indigenous through sex. And then this is where organisms that have sex, they're expressing their indigenous individuality together based on how they were having sex internally. And then this is where if you have sex in a similar way, you can join those organisms and be born. And now you can have a mom and a dad. And now you're the child of that mom and dad based on how your spiritual esoteric sex vibrationally resonated with their spiritual esoteric sex. So this is the idea of magnetism, vibration in general, how our souls, how bodies of water pool together so that we can all feel connected. You have to have your own body of water, and you have to feel like your body of water can and should connect with others before you create that circumstance for it to happen. From here, purple is conscious circumstance. Once you are born into a watery reality through sexual intercourse, through sexy six, through a sexual simulation, now your purple consciousness, your violet consciousness, violet, purple, whatever, your violet consciousness, violet is better because it does insinuate violence. Not that you're hurting others, but violence is about separation. So your violet consciousness allows you to separate how you have sex from others. Hopefully you don't have sex in a violent way, but I do know a lot of people who are into that. So, right, there's spectrums of violence. Okay, so this is the best way I can communicate it right now. Your consciousness does not have sex the same way other forms of consciousness does. And we all know that. It doesn't take long to look on the internet and find that out, or to figure out everyone's search history and be like, oh, everyone has different sexual preferences simply based on what they're searching online, because we're all consciously aware of different ideas and imaginations on how we have sex, because again, we're all infinite individuals. So your violet separates you from other violets. So your consciousness can be violent when it is working to separate itself from how other forms of consciousness come together. So this is the idea of European royalty using violence to express their higher consciousness in general. So once a spirit's mind goes from thoughtful to being full of thoughts, this is where we get a violet royal consciousness creating a brown servant body. The bodies that our minds animate right now are made out of earth, dirt, light turned to dirt. The Bible says that. We come out of stardust and we go back into stardust. The spiritual knowledge is knowing that you're using stardust to relate with other spaces, and that we're all using stardust to relate with other spaces. And then that's where we are all elemental airbenders, so to speak. We're all avatars of our own imaginations. Yellow and green come before brown because spirits creating 7 violet consciousnesses must create 8 earthly bodies if they want to make their minds relatable with other minds. And ultimately, the only way one white god can actually see another white god is inside of a black space, aka one atmosphere that we call the universe. This is the meaning of brown 8 becoming black 9, to realize the whiteness, the rightness of a star outside of yourself. If you want to realize the whiteness of a star outside of yourself, then you must use your own blackness, use your own soul to kill your whiteness, your ego, so that your mind can be aware of the information that that star is putting out, that that God is using angels to send messages about. So being in the universe is like using your mind to wait in a cosmic sea of blackness. And this blackness allows you to realize the individuality of all the white stars outside of yourself. And now you can look up at the stars and see all these individual spirits and know that there are a bunch of individuals and that it really gets meta because it's just spaces and spaces and bodies based on how you can look at your body and understand that when people look at you, no one can see your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, any of your organs. No one can see them, but you know that they're working together to allow you to experience this vehicle. You know you're not this vehicle as well. So when we look at a star, we can't see all the components that are working together to allow life to be experienced there. But we do know that life is being experienced, or else that star would simply not exist. So the whole point of blackness on a universal level is to be the container that allows us to experience life. This is how language works, for example. Instead of being born into this reality and feeling like you have to express your imagination with a whole new language, like a spirit in their egoic fire element would, you have chosen to kill your ego and have a soul that allows you to feel connected with a language that you did not create. And by doing this, you're not expressing your imagination fully in its fullest capacity, but by compromising on expressing your imagination fully, you are able to make your imagination more relatable to other individuals based on how they're all trapped inside of this language. So every language is like a trap for the mind. And if your mind cannot think outside of your language, then this is where God would have to send messages to you inside of that trap. But you would have to know that God doesn't speak any of these languages. So just like you, God is going to use the environment that you're in to talk to you. But that environment, those messages are supposed to lead you to God. And then when you're led to God, now God can actually show you your personal mission, can give you the personal journey that you need. That's all related to water fasting. That's all related to everything that we have in chaseyourgenes.com. But this is the point of us sharing experiences in star systems and us basically understanding the balance between blackness and whiteness and how that manifests on an infinite color spectrum level. So if you did not use your soul, your water, to absorb information from the language that you're speaking right now, then we would not be able to connect, right? We wouldn't be able to feel like we can relate with each other because both of us did not spend time waiting in the same structure. And we did not spend time learning to develop the same connections with the same forms of light. So this is all about us gathering information with our Mercury so that we can make our egoic imaginations actually relatable with other individuals' egoic imaginations. By using your soul, your subconscious mind, to understand the same language that I have used my soul, my subconscious mind to understand, now we can both relate, connect, communicate, and vibe while we feel like we are getting our point across. And if you're able to communicate back to me what you feel like I'm saying, and we can repeat it over and over, now we have our own religion, right? This is how all religions happen. From people saying something, the other person repeating it, and then individuals feeling like they all have the same relationship with the words that they're saying. So now when they're speaking, they're literally speaking the same language because they're all using the words in a similar way. And this is where we can go deeper and always see that spirituality is individuality, because no one will ever truly see words or language like you do. You're an infinite individual. This is how water always supports fire so that communication can happen. God is fire, water is Lucifer, the communication is the human. So humans are only able to communicate because God feels like being Lucifer. God feels like falling from heaven and playing a heartbeat musical instrument that allows him to share his emotions with other gods. And then this is where all of us as gods have chosen to let our souls get lost in light, lost in the Lucifer, so that we can all feel like this human experience matters in the same way. Fire, water, air, earth. The vibration supports the frequency, so energy can matter. Spiritually, our egos can only perceive and relate with each other if our souls are supporting, vibrationally resonating with the same ideas. All the way down to being a human instead of being an ant or a cow. The fact that we all have beating hearts with similar biochemistry structured bodies inside of an atmosphere where we all have to use our minds, our consciousness to breathe in and out to stay connected shows us that we are actually literally creating this reality based on our desire to communicate our ideas of God through something, through a substance that is relatable. And that substance that's relatable is ultimately water. That's why your body had to get derived out of water, and your personal water is the soul that led you to feeling like building a body inside of this body of water mattered in the first place. Once you've been in enough universes, you're going to see consistently that on a metaphysical level, it's all about how our minds share our souls into air, and then that air condenses. So from that gas, the metaphysical world is very gaseous in that state because it's a lighter atmosphere. But then once that light becomes heavy, now we get physical reality, we get stars, which is really the water that condenses from this spiritual air, from our minds choosing to share our souls. We can never fully share our souls because our souls are all hermetically sealed inside of our spaces. But the whole point of creating water is that we are generating emotion that allows light to move. So water represents how light is moving based on our emotions. So the only reason your body can move because of your emotions is because you made it out of water. If you did not make this body out of water, your emotions would not be able to matter. You would not be able to bring motion into the water. Your cells would not be conducting any chi, and thus your muscles would have never mattered in the first place. And we would never know who you are. So that's how spiritual this is, and this is how normal this is and natural this is. No matter what universe you're in, this is it. The metaphysical realm is our minds sharing our souls, And then the physical realm is our brains bringing rain. So the soul is the rain that allows us to build a body that then becomes our domain. This is why everybody in life, everything in life, is vibrating at a certain frequency to exist. Your soul is your individual vibration. It simultaneously connects you to and separates you from spaces outside of yourself. The point of the soul is to connect you with others, but really the point of the soul is to make how you connect with yourself relatable with others. So it's not really about connecting with others, but it is. This is why the soul is polarity. And this is why the ego creates the soul, so that the ego can feel like it's connected with other egos, and now it's not alone in its imagination. It's not alone in its idea of God anymore. So this is basic Zoroastrianism right here, fire and water, then creating the air that allows us to experience earth. So your soul is simultaneously connected to the outside and the inside. The space is you completely connected with yourself. That's you as a spirit. You're always completely connected with yourself inside of your own circumstance. Your body feels like it's outside of its own circumstance. This is where spirits create bodies so that they can get lost in other realms and realities. And now they can learn to find their way back home. And that's a whole mental journey that allows their mind to expand way bigger than if they just stayed home in the first place. So every body, every structure that you create is built so that you can separate from your space. By separating from your space, you're actually able to relate with other spaces. So me being in this body, when the Bible says the body's of sin, yeah, I'm a sinner right now because I'm the most separate from Mercury. I'm the most separate from my Hermetic heaven that I can possibly be. And I'm doing it because I was called into this universe to show you how nature works and show you how our mind works, and to clarify how white supremacists have stolen everything from me and been consuming the environment, causing climate change, while saying that no one's responsible for the actions that they're profiting off of. Not you. Mercury hasn't been getting paid from anything that this Masonic government has done with its energy. Not one messenger of Mercury has gotten paid from how white people have stolen our energy and used it to sell all their ideas and sell Marvel comics and sell their books and all their Merkaba jewelry, and just there's so much stuff on the internet where they just commodified all of my spiritual individuality and all of our spiritual individuality. They commodify indigenous individuals overall. So it's horrible, it's whack, and do know that I, as Spider-Man, have been holding this shit together with nothing at all. Really less than nothing. Because I'm serving my time, I'm giving my life to a system that's stealing everything from me. It's like constantly putting out light and information into a black hole that never gives you anything back. That's not nature. You want to plant a seed and watch it grow. You don't want to drop your seed into a black hole and then sit there for 20 years like, where's my tree? That's not natural. It's fucked up. So that's what it's like dealing with the New World Order white supremacist government. That's what it's like talking into these phones. And hey, we're making it work. So the whole point of a body is to separate a spirit from its individual space, because that body is the physical light structure that allows a spirit's soul, how it feels about its own space, to actually connect and feel like it's very relatable with other souls. So then this is where, because we've all built bodies, now we can learn friendship. We can learn all the lessons of friendship and all the lessons of empathy. And we can learn how truly individual all of our friends are once we spend more time with them. Once we wait longer and longer with them, we're going to see more and more of their egos and more of their souls based on how their mind communicates through a body. And this is the power of waiting. This is the power of spending time with people, right? Time is the most valuable esoteric currency you have. So when you spend time doing anything, that is what money is. You're actually, like, whatever you consider to be money is whatever matters to you. And whatever matters to you is what your spirit spends time being aware of. What do you spend time focusing on? That's what matters to you. And that's where you, as an individual God, are going to expand the universe in only a way that you can. So this is why brown is 8. Brown, as the body, shows us that the universe is the body that allows all of our physical bodies to connect forever and ever. So every universe is a body, a cosmic weight that allows us to be great. And now we can express our consciousness into this cosmic weight, work out our feelings, work out our emotions, and separate how we have sex from other individuals. And then this is why we're always building family inside of any universe, just all families. We're building hella families, infinite families. That's the whole point of me creating symmetry as Chase Clarence Calloway. I'm connecting all of the families and building upon all of the families and everything that we've done based on the past lives of Mercury. So again, this is the indigenous perspective of what it means to have relationships with individuals and what it means to share your ideas and share your mental atmosphere with other mental atmospheres so that we can all breathe new life into new circumstances and we can constantly just experience new things, but together. That's the point of the universe being a cosmic weight that we're using to lift and work out our emotions every single day. So space connects with space forever through brown dirt bodies. This is where the white supremacist Masonic scientific system that is controlling the world right now wants to say that matter can't be created or destroyed and energy can't be created or destroyed. That's them saying that earth can't be created or destroyed and air cannot be created or destroyed. And then they had to learn that earth comes out of air. They're like, oh, so all matter is a form of energy? Okay, well, air or earth can't be destroyed. I'm Hermes Trismegistus. I'm letting you know that we create air constantly by watering our fire. It's not that hard. By vibrating at a certain frequency. That's how you experience whatever energy matters to your God, to your spirit. So none of the bodies in existence can matter if there's not a soul to vibrate that light from nothing into something. So this is why all earth has to come out of water. Hence why there is a spirit for every space and all light must vibrate to actually matter as any form of material that we can all make into something. Otherwise, it's unobservable, immaterial. This is why your soul is created from your space and is constantly projected into your structure. So your soul is coming from your space into your structure, and that's how we're expanding the universe right now. So your heartbeat is physical proof that your soul is coming from your space, and now you can use your heartbeat to make your structure matter. The unconsciousness, your spirit, creates a subconsciousness, your soul, so that your consciousness, the mind, can experience what matters to your idea of God, a body. Your boy, Chase Clarence Calloway, your trippy tripsy psychedelic psychopomp, just made existence rather simple. Of course, it only gets more complex from here, but at the very least, after watching Colorful Consciousness, watching this whole video series, you now have a greater awareness as to how your mind works, how you created a body, where your spirit is coming from, and where you would go if you were to die right now. Your Hermetic heaven. Yes, you would transform colors, you would transform from the body, but as a spirit, you would only become more colorful, more artistic, and more wise from the experiences that you gathered from that whole lifetime. And then this is where your next lifetime will be an even greater art piece that allows you to build upon your past art pieces with the spirits, the soul groups, the family members that loved your art from before. So again, this is the indigenous perspective of having ancestors, having a soul group, having your spiritual family, and having basically individuals that support your individual. But it took you having an individual and believing in yourself before people could learn how to help how you believe in yourself. So it's always about your individual journey, And it's always about you sharing things that are going to be valuable with the environment that you're in, so that other people can learn how to support the way that you share what's valuable. This is, again, how nature grows. This is how trees grow. This is how your cells form. This is how everything in the universe expands. I made it simple, but we can also make it very complex. If you want to learn more, visit chaseyourgenes.com. In our next video, this is our last video. This is a quick recap, right? We didn't even get into black. Next time will be our final time. We will be wrapping up colorful consciousness. We will talk about why black is the number 9 and what that means for your spirit. Much love. About to fly out of here. About to go either exercise or draw. I think I'll do both. I can find a way to do both. Love to multitask. Peace out. Yeah. And my spirit told me to say that water fasting allows you to die internally and become way more artistic and colorful and wise in your expression. So if you want to learn how to water fast in an artistic fashion, chaseyourgenes.com, you know where to find me. Yeah.